This moment should have been the happiest of my life. I'm a marketing director at a prestigious advertising agency, living in a penthouse on the Upper East Side overlooking Manhattan. I'm in my second year of marriage to James, an executive at an IT startup. And now, I'm carrying our much-anticipated first child. I'm 7 months pregnant, and my doctor has given me a clean bill of health. Last weekend, James and I went to the baby department at Bergdorf Goodman and bought a tiny Chanel cardigan. "Emily, our baby will grow up to be as gentle and beautiful as you are," he said. His words brought tears to my eyes. My mornings start with brunch at Sarah Beth's, followed by afternoon walks in Central Park. Life in this city feels like a scene from a movie. Especially lately, with my morning sickness subsiding, I've been enjoying peaceful days. But there's one shadow looming over this happiness. It's my mother, Diana Spencer. Mother lives a glamorous life in New York's high society as the wife of real estate tycoon Charles Spencer. Summers in the Hamptons, winters in Aspen. She never misses a charity event, and her refined beauty still makes waves in social circles. With a vintage Hermes scarf around her neck, arriving in a Bentley, she's the very picture of a social queen. My sister Karen is a successful model, now engaged to a famous actor. To Mother, Karen is the perfect daughter. She's the center of attention, radiating the kind of brilliance worthy of the Spencer name. Photos of her vacationing on private yachts grace weekly magazines, and her social media following grows by the day. 20 years ago, my parents divorced. Since then, I've had no contact with Father. Mother kept saying, "Forget about that man," and blocked all letters and messages from him. Christmas cards, birthday cards, all probably disposed of without ever being opened. Everything changed with my pregnancy. Mother and Karen's attitudes suddenly turned cold. When Karen's fiancé suddenly expressed his desire for children, Mother declared, "Karen's child will be my true grandchild." She announced this in the reception room adorned with family portraits, while fidgeting with an heirloom ring. When I met Mother on Madison Avenue, she grimaced at the sight of my belly. "You always disappoint me," she said. Her words cut through the silence of the luxury boutique like ice. Next week, I'm hosting a baby shower at the Plaza Hotel. 30 guests. It should be a time filled with warm blessings. The grand ballroom on the 3rd floor is already prepared with champagne and mocktails, and a gender reveal cake has been specially ordered. The baby book will soon be filled with blessing messages from cherished guests. But there was an ominous air about the RSVPs from Mother and Karen. Their responses, written on expensive stationery, seemed to contain hidden thorns. "Of course I'll come. It's an important venue, after all." Mother's words made me shiver slightly. Remembering that cold gaze. Remembering that calculated smile she shows at family dinners after Sunday service. Whenever I write seasonal greeting cards, I always hesitate. Every time I think about what to write to Mother, my chest tightens. Why has the family's blessing for this pregnancy become so distorted? Morning light was streaming into the grand ballroom on the 3rd floor of the Plaza Hotel. Crystal chandeliers cast soft light, and decorations in pink and blue gradients gently embraced the entire room. Pure white linens covered the tables, and floral baby shoes were arranged like fairy gifts. Pearl decorations gleamed elegantly on the silk wall ornaments. "Emily, the venue looks wonderful. Sarah, my friend since college, placed her hand on my shoulder. We had just finished the final arrangements in the VIP room. The green of Central Park visible through the window seemed to be celebrating this special day. "Thank you, but..." Sarah nodded quietly, reading my hesitant expression. "Don't worry about your mother. We're here for you." She had stayed on the phone with me last night, listening to my concerns about Mother and Karen's strange behavior, the events of the past few months, and my vague anxieties. Sharing everything made my heart feel a little lighter. Guests began to arrive gradually. James's parents, my colleagues, and familiar faces from New York's upper society. As champagne and mocktails were served, a warm atmosphere spread around the gender reveal cake. The gift opening began. A tiny pair of Chanel baby shoes, a Burberry check blanket, and Dior first shoes. Each gift was thoughtful and precious. "Oh, how adorable. This is a limited edition from Paris. The cashmere baby blanket looks so warm." With each gift unwrapped, blessings echoed through the room. The baby book was filling up with heartfelt messages. James's mother wrote, "The beginning of a beautiful family," with tears in her eyes. My colleagues were sharing memories from the office. Everyone smiled, especially when talking about our successful new project. These times spent with them have supported me so much. In the midst of this warm atmosphere, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. "I will protect you. Trust me." There was no sender's name. But this writing style reminded me of the letter I found when I was 16. Before I could process my thoughts, the atmosphere in the room suddenly changed. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Emily." I turned to find Mother, who had arrived earlier than scheduled. She carried none of her usual social grace, instead wrapped in a cold atmosphere. Her Hermes scarf was perfectly tied, her Chanel suit impeccably fitted, but her eyes held hostility I'd never seen before. And beside her stood Karen, my sister. Already holding a wine glass, wearing a defiant smile. Her outfit, coordinated entirely in luxury brands, looked like she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. But her expression held a cruel shadow. "Why so early?" Mother didn't answer my question. She approached me slowly, fixing me with an icy stare. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, each step seeming to squeeze my heart. "Why are you doing this?" Mother's voice echoed through the silent venue. Conversations among guests stopped, hands holding champagne glasses froze. "What do you mean? Don't pretend you don't know." Mother's voice rose sharply. "You having a child first is unacceptable." Just as James tried to rush to my side, Mother's angry shout resonated. Her voice was so fierce it made the chandelier crystals tremble. "I won't allow you to have a child before your sister. My true grandchild will be Karen's child." It was like a nightmare. Mother's Jimmy Choo heel raised toward my belly. As I instinctively curled up to protect myself, Karen's high-pitched laughter pierced my ears. Screams erupted from the guests, and someone dropped a glass. "We don't need any extra children in our family." Karen's voice, as she tilted her wine glass, contained a cruel joy, as if she were enjoying a show. Everything seemed to stop in that moment. "So you've finally shown your true colors, Diana." A low but strong voice resonated from behind. A voice carrying undeniable presence across 20 years. At that voice, the color drained from Mother and Karen's faces. A voice they hadn't heard in 20 years. But a voice that had always echoed in my heart. Mother's perfect makeup turned pale in an instant. Father. Karen's voice trembled. The wine glass slipped from her hand, crimson drops staining the pure white carpet. The air in the room froze. The chandelier light swayed quietly, as if time had stopped. Everyone held their breath, watching what would unfold. James pulled me close, ready to call security. I trembled slightly in his arms. The invited guests watched in stunned silence. Even the social elite were speechless at this unexpected development. Among all this, only Father's footsteps echoed clearly. The moment Mother saw Father, her tense expression crumbled like cracked porcelain. Fear seeped through beneath her perfectly applied makeup. Karen stood frozen, staring at the broken wine glass fragments on the floor. The deep red wine spread across the pure white carpet, as if symbolizing this moment. I'll call security. As James reached for his phone, I gently stayed his arm. His eyes mixed with anger and protectiveness. Wait. Tears welled up in my eyes. But they weren't tears of fear or sadness. The moment I had been waiting for 20 years had finally arrived. The chandelier light gently illuminated those tears. Father slowly crossed the venue. His pace wasn't hurried, but each step held firm resolve. In his navy suit, he looked exactly as I remembered him, as if time had stopped. There was deep wisdom and kindness etched by 20 years. Emily. Father called my name. His voice carried 20 years of feelings. I stepped out of James's arms, stumbling slightly. As I took a step toward Father, memories flashed through my mind. A summer day when I was 16. A letter I found by chance in Mother's study. A thick envelope hidden in the back of an antique desk drawer. To my beloved daughter. Since Mother probably confiscates all my letters, this one may not reach you. But I'll keep writing. Believing that someday, these words will find you. Since that day, I secretly searched for letters hidden in Mother's study. One every month, without fail. Sometimes sneaking in while Mother was out, sometimes in the dead of night. The letters I found were carefully stored in my treasure box. I'm always watching over you. On your high school graduation day, you looked up at the sky. Beyond that sky, I was watching you too. That navy gown suited you perfectly. Your university awards ceremony was wonderful. I wanted to be in the front row, but that wasn't possible. Still, your radiant smile was clearly visible even from the back of the hall. Your speech was moving. I heard you got a job at an advertising agency. It's just like you to make such a choice. A place where you can use your creativity and intelligence. I'm proud of you. You must have been nervous on your first presentation day. But I'm sure you achieved excellent results. The letters had a P.O. box address, but I could never send a reply. Mother's watchful eye wouldn't allow it. She checked my every move almost daily. That changed 2 months ago. Frightened by Mother and Karen's abnormal behavior, I finally emailed Father. I remember my finger trembling as I pressed the send button. Dad. I've been reading your monthly letters since I was 16. Now, I need your help. I want to protect this child. The reply came hours later. My heart leaped at the late-night notification sound. I'll be there. Leave it to me. I won't leave you alone again. And when I told him the baby shower's date and location, Father replied with just one line. Emily, I won't let anyone hurt you anymore. I promise. Emily, come here. Father's voice brought me back to reality. That's when Mother screamed. Her voice had completely lost its former elegance. You have no rights. Where were you these 20 years? Father answered in a calm voice filled with deep conviction. Rights? I do have rights. The right to protect my daughter. And now, to protect my grandchild too. James stood beside me. His presence gave me great courage. You must be Emily's father. Yes. A father who has thought about his daughter every day for 20 years. The two men exchanged a firm handshake. In that moment, I understood. This was my true family. Warm bonds embraced this place. As Mother tried to raise her voice again, the venue doors opened. The heavy doors opened quietly but surely. Please escort these people out, James's voice carried dignified authority. We'll report this attempted harm to an unborn child to the police. All security camera footage has been preserved. Mother and Karen turned back as they were led away by security. Mother's perfect makeup had crumbled, revealing her true face. Emily, you're a Spencer. No, I said firmly for the first time. I am my father's daughter. And I'm going to be this child's mother. As we watched Mother and Karen being escorted away by security, Father quietly placed his hand on my shoulder. The warmth of that hand seemed to fill 20 years of emptiness. We need to talk. About the truth from 20 years ago. You have the right to know everything. The guests had already begun to leave. But everyone offered warm words as they departed. Each blessing seemed to celebrate the beginning of a new family. I'm so glad you reunited with your father. What a wonderful father-daughter bond. This is what a real family is. This is the beginning of true happiness. Welcome back, sir. Sarah stayed until the end, helping with the cleanup. Tears of joy glistened in her eyes too. Emily, today was difficult, but it was good. This was meant to be. She embraced me gently. In her arms, I nodded slightly. In the VIP room, we faced each other. Father, James, and me. Outside the window, dusk was beginning to color Manhattan's skyscrapers. The orange-tinted sky seemed to be celebrating the beginning of a new family. Father slowly began to speak. His expression mixed the weight of years with the strength that had overcome them. 20 years ago, it all started with Mother's calculated scheme. There's a truth I must tell you. I took a deep breath. Finally, I could know. The truth of that day that Mother had kept hidden. The missing piece within me was about to be filled. The VIP room on the top floor of the Plaza Hotel. Outside the window, Manhattan's night lights began to sparkle. In that space with dimmed lighting, we faced each other. Father, James, and me. Father slowly picked up a Scotch glass. His gesture carried the weight of the truth he was about to tell. 20 years ago, my company was at a major turning point. Father's voice filled the room quietly but surely. It was a time when many companies were struggling after the IT bubble burst. But my company was entering a growth phase. Our new business model was finally beginning to bear fruit. James nodded in understanding. As someone in the business world himself, he grasped the meaning. Around that time, Mother met Charles Spencer, the real estate tycoon. At first, I thought it was just a chance meeting at a charity party. Father gazed slowly at the amber liquid in his glass. But it wasn't chance. It was all part of a plan Mother had meticulously prepared. I caught my breath. Actually, for 6 months before that, Mother had been gathering information about the Spencer family. Charles Spencer's preferences, behavior patterns, and even his asset details. Father's words froze my heart. The first sign was Mother's change. She suddenly became obsessed with certain charity events. Later, I learned they were all events Charles Spencer was involved in. James gently squeezed my hand. Then Mother's plan entered its next phase. The start of fabricating evidence against me. Father pulled an old envelope from his pocket. A yellowed envelope that had weathered 20 years. These are copies of Mother's diary from that time. Every plan is recorded in detail. I received the envelope with trembling hands. The paper inside contained Mother's meticulous handwriting, describing frighteningly detailed plans. Each item was based on cold calculations. The decisive moment came when I was on a business trip to Seattle. Father's voice resonated heavily. Mother used that opportunity. Fabricated photos suggesting a relationship with a young secretary. Forged phone records from outings. Altered hotel receipts. Everything was perfectly prepared. But why go so far? To my question, Father sighed deeply. An obsession with a more wealthy lifestyle. My company was indeed growing then. But at that point, our assets were incomparable to Charles Spencer's wealth. James asked with a stern expression. Was there no chance to defend yourself? None, Father answered firmly. When I returned, everything was already over. Mother had already spread rumors of my infidelity to neighbors and friends. It was starting to affect the company's reputation. And so, Father. Yes. I had to withdraw. To protect you. Father stood up and walked to the window. Manhattan's night view illuminated his back. But I never gave up. I kept writing monthly letters. Believing that someday the truth would come to light. Why did Mother keep hiding my letters? To protect her new life. Her marriage to Charles Spencer. Her position in society. She feared losing everything. I was shocked by facts I hadn't noticed until now. Did Karen know? Father slowly shook his head. No. But she was raised in Mother's twisted love. Always given special treatment, spoiled. That led to her behavior today. James spoke in a resolute voice. I've already reported this to the police. Attempted harm to an unborn child. The plaza's security cameras recorded everything. Father nodded. Yes. And this will be the final judgment. He pulled another envelope from his pocket. This is evidence of Mother's relationship with Charles Spencer. Everything from 20 years ago, including records of illegal fund transfers. Just then, my phone rang with a local news alert. Real estate tycoon Charles Spencer to hold emergency press conference following wife's misconduct revelations. Father continued quietly. Charles Spencer has already received all the evidence. The threat to you was the final trigger. Outside the window, an ambulance siren wailed. The city's bustle seemed to herald a new beginning. A full moon hung in the night sky. Emily, Father called my name gently. It's all right now. Let's walk together as a real family from now on. I looked at James and Father. There was genuine love there. 1 year later, on a Sunday, morning sunlight streamed into our home on the Upper East Side. Through the large living room windows, we had a perfect view of Central Park in spring. The fresh green trees sparkled in the gentle light. Grace is smiling. I gazed at my 6-month-old daughter in my arms. Pure joy filled her eyes. Her tiny hand touched my cheek. Is Sunday brunch ready? Father peeked his head out from the kitchen. In his apron, he was in the middle of making French toast. Sweet aromas wafted through the room. Almost, James answered while brewing coffee. In this past year, we've become a real family. Every Sunday morning, we enjoy brunch together. Sometimes we go to Sarah Beth's, but lately we've been eating at home more often. Everyone looks forward to Father's home cooking. Emily, did you see the newspaper? Father spread the newspaper on the table. There were photos of my former mother and sister. Former society queen now living in apartment in small town. The article detailed mother's current situation. After her divorce from Charles Spencer was finalized and she lost all assets, her life changed dramatically. Days spent in a modest apartment, far from her former mansion. Karen's living with her too. I quietly read through the article. After losing all her modeling contracts, my sister now works as a clerk at a local boutique. Following her breakup with her actor fiancé, her social media following plummeted. Her luxurious lifestyle had become a thing of the past. They seemed to regret everything. In the article, Mother spoke through tears. My mistake from 20 years ago took everything away. My greed destroyed my precious family. My sister also confessed to a change of heart. Mother's excessive love warped me. I still regret how I treated my sister. I'm finally beginning to understand the true meaning of family. That's enough of the newspaper. I stood up, holding Grace. There's no need to dwell on the past. What matters is the happiness of this moment. Emily, James placed his hand on my shoulder. Your decision was right. I nodded slightly at his words. I'm glad I made the decision to change everything that day at the baby shower. On the living room shelf, Father's letters are carefully preserved. A bundle of letters containing 20 years of feelings. And now, new family photos are being added one after another. Grace's smile, reunion with Father, happy moments with James. Outside the window, spring breeze rustled the fresh green leaves. Oh yes, I'm thinking we should go to the Hampton House next weekend. Father said while plating French toast. I want to create new family memories. How about playing with Grace by the sea? That sounds wonderful, I smiled naturally. Warm dishes were laid out on the table. French toast, scrambled eggs, bacon, and Father's special blueberry sauce. "Let's eat." As the three of us spoke in unison, Grace laughed happily. Her smile in the morning light was precious beyond words. The doorbell rang, and Sarah arrived. She had become a regular at our weekly Sunday brunches. "Oh my, today's French toast looks absolutely delicious." She too had become an essential member of our family. Outside the window, the spring sunlight grew even brighter, as if announcing the beginning of a new season. In this moment, I was truly happy. Father's love, James's support, Grace's smile, and the countless memories we would create from now on. This is what a real family looks like. Father spoke quietly but firmly. "Let's keep walking this path together." I answered, putting everything into these words. "Yes, of course, Dad." Grace smiled again. In her eyes, our family's happy future seemed to be reflected. In the photo frame by the window, Father's old letters caught the gentle light. They continue to watch over us, transcending 20 years of time, as eternal proof of the bond between father and daughter.